What up, granders and granddad's? She got a black abstract. Hola. Happy 2026. I know you ain't seen me in a while, but I'm back better than ever. It's just been busy. I got another business I run, so I apologize if you guys haven't seen me in a while. But if you are new to my channel, I want to say what up. And if you've been following me, you know that Versus is one of the things that made my channel what it is today. I did a bunch of mock verses. I do always do a pre-verses, and then I'll do a post-verses. So it's just been, I've been super busy, so I haven't had a chance to. But it's a bunch of verses that I gotta get to. First, T.I. 50 Cent. I'm working on that now. But it's another one I want to get to, and it's the Fab and Lloyd Banks. I've been seeing a lot of things floating around out on the internet. Everybody's giving their opinion or tank who's the better rapper. Lloyd Banks versus Fabolous. So this right here, right now, we're gonna be breaking out a bunch of different criterias. Aside from my personal opinion and personal feelings, we're gonna be talking about bars, hits, albums, mixtapes, versus potential, everything. So let's get into it right after this.
We're now listening to the Black Absent.
You will never see anything like this ever again.
All right, so Lloyd Banks, for those that don't know, he is from G Unit and 50 Cent. He's known as the Punchline King. He raps mostly on dark, gritty street beats. He's a street lyricist, technical rhyme schemes, quiet personality, super introverted, but he is respected and feared amongst a lot of rappers in the game. Fabolous is from Desert Storm and DJ Clue. Those are the cosigns. He's known for slick punchlines, plus melodies and hooks, charisma, fashion, radio-friendly hits, has a lot more crossover appeal, and strong mixtape freestyles. I'm not going to say he has, meaning that he was more crossover than Lloyd Banks, but I'm just saying he has had more crossover appeal. The difference is Banks is a lyrical technician, whereas Fab is a lyrical entertainer. When I first heard of Lloyd Banks, it was from 50 Cent's The Future mixtape. It was either Banks Workout, Bad News, one of those songs he was on. And I was like, yo, who the fuck is this? Like, just like everybody else, who the fuck is this? Because 50 promoted them from day one, as well as up until when they got popping. He did 50 Cent, the way he promoted and did Banks up until his debut was how you're supposed to put on for your artist. He wanted to see Junior artists win as much as he wanted to see himself win. The first time I heard Fab was on The Professional. He had a song called If They Want It. He was going by Fabulous Sport at the time. And I remember that being my favorite song on the album. And it was, I don't understand how niggas insist the nose route. How we spend car money to piss our hoes out. Like, he was killing it. And Fab kind of benefited from the void that Mace left. When Fab first started, he had a lot of Mace's cadence, slow flow, as well as the wittiness that Mace had. So, and he's admitted himself, he did fill that void and he did draw inspiration from me. Lloyd Banks' strength. He is a multi-syllable rhyme scheme rapper. He has complex metaphors, consistent bars, and he is the hardest member of G Unit amongst a lot of people. That's to be determined. Young Buck, to me, was my favorite at one point. Lloyd Banks was my favorite at one point. And Gang was my favorite at one point. Tony Ayo was never my favorite at any point. But that's not to say he's not dope. He's just not on par with the latter that I just named. Example of songs of that display his lyrical ability are On Fire, Karma, Beamer, Benz, and Bentley. The reason I mention these songs is because they are completely all different from each other, aside from what his mixtape and his lyrical prowess and street shit is. Fabulous strengths, super punchline, plus the humor. He got a smooth flow. He loves telling stories in his songs. He also tells a lot of love songs that have a story on them. He's a freestyle king as well. He comes from the Clue era. Example, Breathe, Throw It in the Bag. You be killing them. The winner of this depends on the taste. Pure bars is Banks, clever punchlines is Fab. Me personally, I'm going to go with Fab. I think that just the lyrical ability with consistency. We've seen it recently when Fab dropped the freestyle the Squatter freestyle with Jim Jones, Mano, and Dave East. The one that went viral was his verse. 2026, Fab still has it. Even though I believe that was 2025 at the time. He's showing you he still has it and ain't lost a step. And he was just playing around. So imagine if he was really focused on getting some shit done. The dude ain't lost a step, man. We talk about ghostwriters a lot in this industry. He would be one of the people that I would really be upset if I find out he had a ghostwriter. I ain't gonna lie. I would probably shed a tear. All right, so next we're gonna do album sales and commercial success. Lloyd Banks, The Hunger for More, his debut album was in 2004. Went platinum. He sold 1.5 million copies. It debuted at number one with 433K the first week. And it's his only platinum album. Fabolous, Ghetto Fabolous, platinum. Debuted, went 1 million. Now, keep in mind, Ghetto Fabolous debuted on the same day as 9/11, and it also debuted the same day as Jay-Z's The Blueprint. That is I don't know why his label would do that. That made no sense to me, but I think they believed in him. And Fabolous was red hat at the time, so maybe they believed in their mind he was on par. Bad idea. I remember when these first came out, and I went to the store to buy these. Without exception, I bought The Blueprint, which to me still is Jay-Z's best and my favorite Jay-Z album, and his classic that he has. So it was no comparison. Street Dreams, which is a follow-up to Ghetto Fabolous, went platinum as well. He also has multiple gold albums like Real Talk. And that's not mentioning, obviously, the mixtapes. We're going to get into those. The winner of this is Fabolous. He's obviously had more commercial success because he's had more longevity. He's been more consistent. More platinum albums. Plus, he had bigger radio hits. So, Fabolous wins this category. I also want to say, out of the two, my favorite probably would be The Hunger for More, but I'm going to tell you why. Up until the release of The Hunger for More, you got to understand, Banks was on those mixtapes with 50, where they were redoing records. Me being a rapper knows that is a tool to get better, because that was the tool me and my Non-Grads Entertainment crew did to get better. We used to follow that same formula. And we used to do a thing called Cypher Sundays, where everybody came over, and 4 or 5 people were allowed to get on this record, and it'd be 10 of us in the house. And if your verse wasn't up to par, you couldn't get on it. We cut your shit right off and let you know, no hard feelings. We don't think you made the cut. Also, he was on Get Rich or Die Trying. We all noticed the commercial success the album had, and we know that Banks' verse on that album was undeniable. Aside from that, the next album, which is the Genius and 50 Cent, instead of him doing a follow-up to Get Rich or Die Trying, he says, hey, I want to do this G-Unit album because I want to set up my artists. You guys aren't going to get a second album out of me if we don't release this Beg for Mercy album, which to me is just as, I'm not going to say just as good, but it fits right inside there with those debuts, because Get Rich or Die, Beg for Mercy, Hunger for More, Straight Outta Cashville, and the documentary are all, I would say, 4.5 type mics. Obviously, Get Rich or Die Trying is a 5 mic album. It's a classic. The documentary is a classic. The Hunger for More to me was like a 4, and Straight Outta Cashville was like a 4.5, 4 type album as well. Beg for Mercy would have been probably about a 4.5 as well. Tony Ayo was absent from this album, and I'm glad. Not that he was in jail, but I feel like Buck made Banks hungrier, because Buck didn't get on here playing around. Even though he was from the South, I think that right there was the reason that he was like, yo, I got to go hard, because these New York niggas is killing this shit right now, and I got to give my best effort. In return, I think Banks saw that and said, oh, shit, I got to give my best effort. And obviously 50 Cent was in his prime. He's giving 100%, even though he just came off the biggest success of his life. So I say all that to say, leading up until Lloyd Banks' debut album, this man was the equivalent of Kevin Durant going to Golden State. You are literally walking into a position or a team that's already done had accolades and wins. It's literally set up for you can't lose, right? Whereas Fabolous, on the other hand, even though he's with Clue, Who was a mixtape DJ? They didn't have that commercial success. Fab went from freestyling on mixtapes to literally to the big leagues, and he had to stand on his own, and he did a hell of a good job. You know, coming from New York, it was some monsters out at that time. So I'm gonna give this to Fab. Obviously, I said the hunger for more, but I just want to let y'all know what Fab and these two both were up against. Fab was kind of on his own. He didn't have a big homie. He didn't have a G Unit. So let's keep that in mind. Obviously, I think the winner in terms of the better album is The Hunger for More, but overall, Fabolous wins because he stood on his own, he's still staying on his own, and he had more commercial success. All right, next we're going to get into hit songs comparison. Lloyd Banks hits, On Fire, Karma, I'm So Fly, Beamer, Benz, and Bentley, Hands Up. Fabolous hits, Breathe, Trade It All Part 2, Into You, Throw It in the Bag, Make Me Better. Man, they didn't even name half the songs that Fab got. Fab got way more hits than that. Obviously, I think the winner here is Fab because, like I said, this is some Fab hits they didn't even name. They didn't name When the Money Goes. They didn't name some of the features he got with bigger artists. Jamie Foxx, She Got It All, The Dream, Shorty Is a 10. The list goes on with Fab. Fab got so many fucking hits just featuring on other people's shit aside from his own hits. You know, they ain't got Holla Back Youngin' on here. They don't have the Nate Dogg assistant hit on here. There's so many. They don't got the T-Pain. I try to make me back. My baby back. Actually, I forgot. Jermaine Dupri said that was him singing on there, not T-Pain. But anyway, so I'm going to say right there, Fabolous wins when it comes to hits. Not to knock nothing to Lloyd Banks. Fab just had more memorable, and I think he just had more. Okay, mixtape era. Let's get into the mixtape. I'm going to be honest here. I wasn't really big on Lloyd Banks mixtapes aside or after G Unit. Reason being, after the Rotten Apple album, and maybe during that, Lloyd Banks wasn't the same Lloyd Banks that he was before, like, The Hunger for More. His voice had changed. He was less punchline driven. He was more kind of just traditional rapping, but it just wasn't the same. He didn't have the same fire. He just wasn't hungry no more. So it was a complete different type of Lloyd Banks. So that way I never got into his mixtapes because it was like a player that was past their prime still doing it. And that's just me. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just talking about me personally. Whereas Fab Soul tapes, man, those changed. We used to look for those every Thanksgiving like it was Christmas, man. Like, it wasn't, at one point, it wasn't even a Thanksgiving if a soul tape didn't come out. Or we'll legit be mad and tweeting like, nigga, where is the shit at? Like, you bitch ass nigga, put this shit out. Now it says here, and I hear a lot about this doing my research, the Halloween Havoc series, the Cold Corner series, Strong Lyrical tapes, whereas Fabolous, like I said, had the Soul Tape series, There's No Competition series, as well as the Young OG series, Summertime Shootout series. So, and aside from the Clue shit, at one point in time, Fabolous was rapping to a 90s classic track every Friday. I forget it was called the Friday such and such. Not to mention, this man has a whole album with Jadakiss, and he's holding his own. Like, that's not an easy feat. Winner, some people say it's a tie. But me personally, I will go for Fabolous, you know. But you can say it's a tie. I'll take the tie as well. All right, now, features and cat collaborations. Lloyd Banks, obviously 50 Cent, Eminem, G Unit, Joel Santana, Beamer, Benz, and Bentley, Lloyd as well. In that one song, they got him like, or make him say whatever that song was, right? Fabolous, Lil Wayne, Rihanna, Neo, Chris Brown, Jadakiss, Jamie Foxx, The Dream. The list goes on and on and on and on with Fab. I'm talking about even in present day, right? Bone Crusher, you could name it. This dude just got probably a song with anybody you could think of, right? You got to understand, Fab has got on some records with greats. The Lil Wayne and Joel Santana record. He said that was just an Alchemist freestyle he gave, and they put it on that. They wanted to put it on the album. He didn't hear nobody verses. He still had the best fucking verse. You know, Fabolous done got on some records and body niggas. He done held his own against D-Block on the Kiss Your Ass Goodbye remix. You can name it. Like I said, collaborations with Jadakiss and Mary J. Blige. This man is a fucking problem, man. The reason Fab is bigger is because G-Unit limited theirself because they had so much beef in the industry. So that actually hindered his career. That actually hindered his artist careers, which is we don't talk about. 50 Cent's actions directly affected his artists because they couldn't go off and collaborate with people because they were so self-contained because they had to be. So that was one of the reasons the Game wanted to kind of break away because he couldn't work with nobody. Game is a feature. He's one of them artists that have to have a feature to enhance whatever he's got going on. And you can't do that if you got beef with everybody. So obviously Fabolous wins this by a mile. Next, we're going to get into the longevity. Lloyd Banks, his big peak was 2003 to 2006. We say 2003 because that's when he was actually in the game. They don't count mixtapes back then as being in the game. They do now because it's a different ball game. But until you had an industry release and you were actually on the ASCAP or BMI, that's when you were in the game. So Lloyd Banks was on Get Rich or Die Trying. That was his introduction because that was his first debut. And his peak when he stopped 2006 because I believe that was his last commercial album that had any type of success. So he had a quiet mid-career. Even though he releases the mixtapes, he has a cult fan base, etc., etc. He does hop on features here and there. Come back with the Course of Inevitable. Obviously, that was a dope series. But Fabolous has been relevant from 2001. Mind you, I said when they first dropped the industry, that's when his first album came out, into the 2020s, which we see at the podcast. He has consistently reinvented himself. He'll drop a verse here and there. He hasn't dropped the album in a while, not even the mixtapes, but he's been focused more on just social media, etc., fashion. He's still feature king, and he just maintained the mainstream presence. So the winner obviously goes to Fabolous. What I rather listen to and resonates to me is Fabolous, who is still out here rocking and popping after how many plus years? 20 plus years is Fabolous. Love Banks, but Banks fell back, and I could kind of see why. His personality don't really match with 50's personality. Only time we see Tony Yayo, whenever interview we do, who always gets mentioned in his interview? 50 Cent, because he still lives and breathes 50 Cent. 50 made it to where his artists have to depend on him, whereas I think Fabolous is an artist that stands on his two, and I think that's the reason why Lloyd Banks isn't around, because he wants to stand on his two. But he realized, like, hey, the game changed. He's not the same hungriness as he was. And shit, you know, you fall into that being a parent. Believe me, I know. I got music for days, and I only got one project out in the last how many years. So, and I'm my own worst critic, so I get it. So, I say all that to say, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the hype button, and let me know who you think is the better rapper. I hope you like this video. I hope I did my due diligence. Till next time. Peace.